Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host. And before we really jump into the content, I want you to picture something for me.
And I'm your resident expert for today's deep dive. I'm ready. What's the scenario?
Okay, so imagine the absolute chaos of trying to organize a dinner with, let's say, 10 of your friends.
Oh, nightmare scenario.
Oh.
Immediately.
Right. I mean, you've got the group chat going. Three people are on mute. One person is suddenly asking if the place is gluten-free. Another one is canceling at the very last minute.
Yeah, you're just sitting there staring at your phone wondering why you even try to make plans anymore.
Exactly. It's exhausting. Now, I want you to take that exact stress and I want you to scale it up. Imagine not 10 friends, but 1,250 people.
Wow.
Yeah. And here's the kicker. They all show up at the exact same place at the exact same time without a single text message.
Wait, no WhatsApp group?
No WhatsApp. No calendar invite, no save the date email, not even like a carrier pigeon, just purely spontaneous synchronization.
It sounds impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like a glitch in the simulation or something.
It really does. But according to the history books and the source material we're looking at today, this actually happened. And it didn't happen at a music festival. It happened in northern India 2,500 years ago.
Right.
And this specific event is basically the anchor for our deep dive today. We are looking at Magha Puja Day. Now, depending on the lunar calendar, this shifts around, but in the context of the special report we're analyzing, we're observing it on March 3rd.
Yeah, and for millions of Buddhists around the world, this is a massive deal. We're talking candlelight processions, temple gatherings, chanting. It's a huge, visually stunning religious observance.
Absolutely.
But, and this is why I really love the sources we pulled for today, we're going to do something a little different.
Yeah, we are on a mission today. We've gone through this stack of source material, these special reports and historical analyses, and we want to look past the candles and the incense. We want to extract the operating system underneath the ritual.
Exactly, the operating system.
Because when you strip away the history and the ceremony, what you're left with is a surprisingly practical framework for dealing with modern life.
And when we say modern life, we mean the messy stuff.
Yeah.
Navigating a toxic comment section, dealing with workplace burnout, managing that constant feeling of just being overwhelmed.
It's surprisingly relevant to all of that.
It really is. The source material frames this ancient event, not just as a miracle, but as a masterclass in intuition and shared values. It focuses on a core teaching called the Ovada Patimokkha.
Which, I'll be honest, is a bit of a mouthful. Ovada Patimokkha.
It's a mouthful, yeah, but the concept itself is very elegant.
It really is. It's revolutionary in how simple it seems on the surface. But before we get to the actual teaching, we have to go back to that flash mob I mentioned, the spontaneous assembly.
Right, the gathering itself.
Because the more I read about this in the notes, the more my mind was blown by the logistics, or I guess the total lack of them. What do the historical records actually say happened there?
So, the history tells us that 1,250 enlightened monks, they're known as arhants, gathered to pay homage to the Buddha at the Veluvana Monastery. But the detail that the texts obsess over, that our source really highlights, is the lack of a summons.
That's the part I just can't get past. No one called them.
No appointments, no newsletter. These were individuals who had been ordained directly by the Buddha. They had attained a very high level of spiritual realization. And the idea is that because of that internal realization, there was this spontaneous synchronization. They just knew.
It's like a hive mind, but for enlightenment.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
But if we analyze the symbolism here, which the report does quite beautifully, it's about way more than just a cool magic trick or telepathy. It's a statement about unity.
Okay.
It wasn't just a crowd. It was a demonstration of absolute harmony. The source emphasizes that this was a gathering without rivalry, without conflict, and without ego.
And that creates a pretty brutal contrast with where we are today. I mean, just look around.
It really does. The source explicitly contrasts that ancient harmony with our modern situation. It points out how defining polarization is for us right now. Political disagreements, social divisions, generational gaps. We are constantly reminded of what separates us.
It feels like we can't get 10 people in a room today without an argument starting over something, let alone 1,200 people agreeing on anything without a fight.
Precisely. We are very good at focusing on differences. And the insight here, the big aha moment regarding this assembly, is that connection doesn't necessarily need forced organization or rigid control.
Right.
It doesn't need a dictator or a strict schedule. Real connection comes from shared values.
So it's internal, not external. That's the key shift.
Exactly. The source lists the values that connected them. Respect for truth, commitment to ethical conduct, and inner cultivation. When those are aligned, the connection happens naturally. You don't need the group text if everyone is operating from the exact same moral compass.
That's a powerful idea. It's like if we're all tuned to the same frequency, we hear the same music. So this flash mob wasn't just a meet and greet. They didn't just show up to say hi. This was the specific moment the Buddha chose to deliver what the source calls the heart of Buddhism.
The Avada Padamokha.
Right. And this teaching is built on a triad. 3 principles. And I have to be the skeptic for a second here.
Go for it.
When I first read these 3 points in our notes, I thought, okay, this sounds a little basic, like something you'd see on a motivational poster in a dentist's office.
They do sound deceptively simple.
Yeah.
That's the trap. We hear simple words, and we immediately think easy.
Let's hear them.
1, refrain from all wrongdoing. 2, cultivate what is wholesome and good. And 3, purify the mind.
See, don't be bad, be good, think happy thoughts. It feels a little kindergarten. But I have a feeling, based on how deep this report goes, that you're going to tell me that if we actually try to do them, they're incredibly hard.
Much harder than they look. If we really look at how the source unpacks these, especially in the context of the 21st century, it stops being a nursery rhyme and starts becoming a survival guide. Let's look at that first pillar, refraining from wrongdoing.
Okay, let's dive in, because usually when we hear wrongdoing, we think of the big stuff. Bank robbery, arson, assault, stuff that gets you on the evening news.
Exactly. We think, well, I didn't punch anyone in the face today, and I didn't steal a car, so I'm nailing the spirituality thing. I'm a saint.
I'm doing great.
But the source challenges us to redefine wrongdoing for the modern era. It talks about subtle wrongdoing, the stuff that flies under the radar.
This is where the digital age context comes in, right? Because the Buddha definitely didn't have Twitter.
No, but he understood human nature, and the nature of communication hasn't changed, even if the speed has. We live in an environment where a single message can reach thousands of people instantly. The source makes a profound point here. Rumors spread faster than truth. And words typed in anger can cause a deep wound, even if you never actually see the person's face.
That is so relatable. I think everyone listening has had that moment where you fire off a comment or an email or a tweet because you're annoyed in the heat of the moment. You hit send and you feel that little rush of, I told them.
That rush. That is the subtle wrongdoing. It's carelessness. It's using your words as a weapon rather than a tool. It's also dishonesty in business, because that's just how the game is played. It's indifference to injustice. The source argues that refraining from wrongdoing today requires what they call ethical mindfulness.
Ethical mindfulness. I like that term. It sounds active. It sounds like something you have to deliberately turn on.
It is active. It means pausing. It means recognizing that we live in a society driven by speed and hot takes. In that environment, choosing not to cut corners or not to post that snappy insult is actually a form of courage. It takes willpower to not jump into the mud.
The source actually gives a checklist for this, which I found really helpful because I need guardrails. I need a system. Before you post or speak, you ask 3 questions.
Right. Is it true? Is it beneficial? Is it kind?
Is it beneficial is the one that gets me. Even if it's true, does it actually help anyone to say it?
Exactly. It might be true that your coworker's presentation was boring, but is it beneficial to say that in front of everyone? Is it kind? Probably not.
If we all actually used that filter, just those 3 questions, the internet would be a very quiet place.
It might be a ghost town, but it would certainly be a healthier one. It's about respecting life in all forms, including the emotional life of the people we interact with online. So that's the first pillar. That's the defense.
Refraining from wrongdoing.
Got it.
So now we move to the second pillar, which feels like switching to offense. Cultivate what is wholesome and good.
Correct. And the report makes a very important distinction here. This isn't just about neutrality. It's not enough to just sit in your room, stare at the wall, and not do bad things. That's just being a rock.
Right.
Rocks don't do bad things, but they aren't enlightened.
So this is about active goodness.
Yes. Kindness, generosity, patience, understanding. Taking the initiative.
But here's the pushback I often hear, and honestly, I feel it myself sometimes. We are tired. Modern life is exhausting. People are burned out. And now you're telling me I have to go out and cultivate goodness on top of my 50-hour work week. It feels like another chore.
It's a completely valid feeling. Modern life is isolating and depleting. We have stress, anxiety, we feel overwhelmed, and often our instinct when we feel that way is to withdraw. We hoard our energy, we protect ourselves, we binge watch a show and shut out the world.
Right. Total preservation mode.
But the source suggests, and this is the key insight, that cultivating goodness is actually the antidote to that depletion. It's not a drain on your battery. It's a charger.
So it's the counterintuitive move. When
Mm.
you feel empty, the answer isn't to shut down, it's to give.
Exactly. It's like jump-starting a car. Small acts of goodness are transformative. Listening to someone who feels unheard. Offering forgiveness instead of retaliation. Volunteering your time.
And there's actual science backing this, isn't there? It's not just woo-woo advice.
The source explicitly mentions that research confirms this ancient wisdom. Acts of generosity and compassion actually improve the giver's mental well-being. It releases oxytocin. It lowers blood pressure. When we help others, we are biologically healing ourselves. It's the helper's high.
That's a powerful reframe. I love the phrase the source used for this. Goodness is not weakness. It is strength guided by wisdom.
That is a beautiful line. In a cynical world, being kind can feel like being a doormat. We think nice guys finish last. But this teaching flips that entirely. It takes strength to be kind when you're stressed. It takes strength to forgive when you've been wronged. That's not weakness. That's immense control.
Okay, so we've got don't do bad, including the digital stuff, and do good actively to recharge yourself. Now we get to the third one. And the source frames this as the boss battle, the most difficult challenge of the three.
Purify the mind.
Why is this one so hard? I mean, it sounds peaceful. Purify the mind just sounds like a spa day.
It sounds peaceful until you actually try to do it. Think about our education system. Think about our society. The source points out a stark contrast. Modern society trains us to manage the external world.
Right.
You spend years learning math, learning how to drive, learning software, learning how to manage your finances. But who taught you how to manage your inner world?
Nobody. Zero. We just kind of hope for the best in there.
Exactly. We are essentially illiterate when it comes to our own minds. And because we don't manage the inner world, the source says that anxiety, anger, jealousy, and fear arise unchecked. We are at the mercy of our own mental weather. If a storm comes, we just get wet. We don't know how to build a shelter.
So purifying the mind isn't about becoming a monk necessarily. It's about not being a slave to your own intrusive thoughts.
Precisely. It's about cultivating awareness. The source is very practical here. It doesn't say you need to go live in a cave for 10 years. It suggests taking a few minutes for meditation daily.
Just a few minutes.
Just a few. It suggests mindful breathing before responding to anger. And here's one I really liked. Evening reflection. Honestly reviewing your actions of the day.
That's tough, though, to really look at your day and say, yeah, I wasn't my best self at 2 p.m. in that meeting.
It requires brutal honesty. You have to look at your mental history for the day. But the result, according to the source, is a clearer mind. And a clearer mind leads to wiser decisions. If your mind is cluttered with unexamined anger or stress, how can you possibly make good decisions? You're viewing the world through a dirty windshield.
You can't see the road, you're just reacting to shadows.
Right. And that brings us back to that idea of the spontaneous assembly we started with. The reason those 1,250 monks could be so unified, so synchronized, wasn't because they had a great manager or a strict schedule. It was because they had each done this inner work. They had cleaned their windshields.
They were seeing the same road. Let's talk about the application to the real world. Because the source brings up this idea of unity versus uniformity, and I think this is where the rubber meets the road for us socially.
This is a critical distinction for our time. Often, when people talk about unity today, they actually mean uniformity.
Yep.
They mean everyone has to think exactly the same, look the same, vote the same, and like the same movies.
Agree with me, or we aren't unified.
Exactly. That's uniformity. That's boring, and frankly, it's oppressive. The monks weren't robots, but they had unity because of mutual respect and those shared values we talked about. The source argues that we can have harmony without being identical.
I love that. And the report gives us a checklist of modern scenarios where we can apply this framework. Let's run through them, because I think you listening right now want to know what this looks like on a random Tuesday. First up, the workplace.
Okay, the workplace. The advice here is simple but hard. Pause and breathe instead of reacting impulsively to stress. Mindfulness improves clarity and resilience. When the deadline is looming and the pressure is on, the purified mind doesn't panic. It assesses. It responds rather than reacts. It's the difference between sending that angry email and deleting it.
Next one, family. This is the big one for a lot of people. Holidays, dinners, arguments.
The source advises using patience and empathy rather than argument to reduce conflict. It goes back to that dynamic of, do you want to win the argument or do you want to win the relationship?
Oof. That hits home. Do you want to be right or do you want to be married?
Exactly. The Avada Padimokkha says prioritize the relationship. Refrain from the harm of the sharp word. You can be right or you can be kind. Often you can't be both.
And the last one, which I found really interesting because we don't usually connect ancient religion to this, is the environment.
Yes. The source extends the concept of non-harming to nature. It presents responsible consumption not just as a trendy thing to do, but as a form of moral awareness. It's realizing that our choices, what we buy, what we waste, are ethical choices. It's refraining from wrongdoing on a planetary scale.
It really shows how comprehensive this framework is. It touches every part of life. It's not just something you do for an hour on Sunday, it's how you operate.
It does, and that's why the source argues this is timeless.
That was going to be my next question. We are talking about something from 2,500 years ago. Why does it still matter? I mean, we have iPhones now. They didn't have iPhones. We have AI. They didn't have electricity.
Technology changes. Societies transform. But, as the source eloquently puts it, the human heart remains the same. We are still capable of the same greed, the same hatred, the same confusion that people felt in 500 BC. But we are also capable of the same compassion and wisdom.
The hardware has changed. We have much better tools.
Yeah.
The operating system of the human is essentially the exact same.
Exactly. We are running the same software.
Yeah.
And because the root problems, suffering, conflict, anxiety, are the same, the root solutions remain relevant. Refraining from harm, doing good, purifying the mind. These aren't just religious rules. They are practical guidelines for living with dignity.
So for you listening right now who is thinking, okay, this sounds great, but I'm not a Buddhist and I'm not going to a temple today, the source offers some actionable steps. How can we observe the spirit of Magha Puja right now, today?
You don't need a temple. You can do this in your kitchen. The source suggests 4 things. First, forgive someone.
That's a big one to start with.
It is. But holding on to a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Forgiveness clears the mind. Second, correct a mistake. If you messed up recently, own it. Fix it.
That's the refrain from wrongdoing part, taking responsibility.
Third, express gratitude. Tell someone you appreciate them. Send that text. That's cultivating good.
And the fourth.
Spend a few minutes in quiet reflection. That's purifying the mind. Just turn off the noise for 5 minutes.
It's about those small acts that strengthen the moral fabric.
Yes, and I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. We often wait for the world to change, or for them, the politicians, the bosses, the other generation, to fix things. But this teaching puts the responsibility and the power squarely back on us.
It reminds me of what we said at the beginning about the flash mob. Those 1,200 people didn't just accidentally show up. They showed up because they were each individually tuned in to something deeper.
Exactly. They did the work in private so they can be unified in public. And if we want that kind of harmony in our own lives or in our society, we have to do that individual work. We have to tune our own instruments before we can play in the orchestra.
So to recap the flow here, it's integrity in action, it's kindness in speech, and it's clarity in mind.
Simple words, profound implications.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought that really stuck with me from this deep dive. We talked about ethical mindfulness. In a world that is absolutely obsessed with speed, move fast, break things, reply instantly, doom scroll, the idea of ethical mindfulness feels almost rebellious.
It is. It's a form of quiet resistance. It's courage. The most radical thing you might do today isn't something loud or aggressive. The most radical thing you might do is simply pause.
Pause.
Reflect. And choose kindness over reaction. That is the spirit of Magha Puja.
I love that. So whether you are celebrating the holiday or just trying to get through a stressful Tuesday, try to find that moment of quiet procession amidst all the noise.
It's always there if you look for it.
That's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for exploring the sources with us.
Take care, everyone.